Hey there, welcome into another edition of Locked On Astros. We're going to talk about the roster crunch. What guys are going to be exiting? We've got several coming off the IL. Will be good for our pitching depth, but what guys will more than likely not be wearing an Astros uniform? We'll talk about it in this edition. Let's start right now.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we update you joins for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talks Astros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can I find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on X and on Facebook. They can also find me at Back to the Bullpen on X, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on iHeartRadio. Also on Apple, where, I'm always positive, always Stros. And yes, guys, welcome in. Thank y'all for tuning in. Mama Wheelhouse, Jacob, Mr. Twang, to name a few. Got 19 of y'all watching. Hey, tell your friends we're live. Bring them over here. Let's talk baseball.
And you can also find Brett at his house. Guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check us out. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. So I know the Astros have been running their game for the past couple years, but unfortunately this year they're kind of cut short. They didn't make it to ALCS, but they still have ideas of making it back to the postseason. And we've seen a pretty good matchup so far. I guess if you're a Dodgers fan, you like what you're seeing. I haven't been paying too much attention to what's going on in tonight's game, but what's going on in tonight's game?
Well, Freddie Freeman tied George Springer with the 5th consecutive World Series game with a home run. They are currently up 3-0 on the Yankees. And I have to say it, Eric, if the Dodgers win tonight, I think it's a clean sweep of the Yankees. And I mean, if that's happens, what a disappointing way to go out with the Yankees having so much hope throughout the season. And Aaron Judge, 7 strikeouts in his last 10 at bats. And get this, he strikes out in the postseason at a 40% clip. Martín Maldonado, 38.9. So Martín Maldonado strikes out less than Judge in the playoffs.
And Zach Greinke has more hits in the World Series than he does. So that's another great stat. So
MVP. Okay. No, I'm joking.
Well, we know that Aaron Judge is a great player. Just sometimes the pressure's on in playoffs, and unfortunately, he hasn't been able to find the right gear, I guess, in the playoffs. So the Yankees just seem like they're a little bit overmatched, and just like the Guardians seemed like they're a little bit overmatched in that series. So. We knew that a lot of the talent this year was kind of in the NL, and we saw some of the powerhouse teams over there. I'm not discounting what the Orioles or the Yankees or any of the teams over here, the Astros. There's some good teams, but I felt like the better teams were in the National League. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers took care of business. Shohei Ohtani, after injuring his shoulder, is back in the lineup, and he texted the team yesterday. But the fact that that you had Freddie Freeman tie George Springer when he was with the Houston Astros for 5 straight, like you said, home runs in a World Series, that kind of hurts us. Hurts me as an Astros fan, George Springer fan, because it's like, no, that was George Springer's. That was Springer-Dinger. That was what he was known for, Mr. October. I know somebody else was named Mr. October, but that's what we liked about George Springer is what he did in the postseason. But Freddie Freeman, to his credit, he hit a walk-off grand slam. Nobody in World Series history has done that before.
That was huge.
He's running his game, I guess we can say.
Well, yeah, no, he is, and he hadn't hit a home run in 41 games. He basically is playing one-legged. And the funny thing about the Ohtani slide or injury, his shoulder popped out of place and popped back into place. So
Okay.
that actually proves my theory correct, that Ohtani is a mutant and he can self-heal. He basically
Is he
is
Optimus?
I'm just saying he's probably going to be in the next Deadpool movie, healing himself and fighting along. I'm just saying, like, Ohtani, like, we can hate the Dodgers all we want to, but Ohtani is a special player. Now, he hasn't done a whole lot in the playoffs. He's gotten on base a couple times, but he hasn't hit for power. He has kind of been absent at the plate. But nobody's talking about that. Everybody's focusing on Aaron Judge. But, at the end of the day, look, I know it's a World Series. I know it's two teams that we absolutely love to hate, but I just want good baseball. I was kind of hoping New York would win tonight so we could extend the series a little bit. I want to see Ohtani get hot after his injury. I want to see that action. But I'm super excited about 2025, Eric, because the Astros, I think, going into 2025, a very deep pitching lineup. I mean, the Dodgers will have a bullpen game tomorrow, and bullpen games have been a name of the game in the playoffs. And I think the Astros, if they can get over the hump next year, they have a good chance to face anybody and be a tough opponent because of their pitching depth.
Bullpen games. You know what? Somebody who I don't think likes bullpen games is Mr. Roy Oswalt. He's mentioned it on X on social media that
Yeah.
he hates the way that the value of starting pitchers have been going down. And Brett, we do have an announcement.
Yes, we do. We have, for the first time on a podcast, Roy Oswalt is going to be doing an exclusive live interview with Locked On Astros. I secured the time today, 6:15 p.m. Wednesday night, right here. The wizard himself, Roy Oswalt, in person, going to be live. So we've got a whole host of questions lined up. We may be able to get some questions in from y'all. I can't promise that because of our limited time, but we want you to make sure that you come here tomorrow night, but also Wednesday night, 6:15, before World Series Game 5. If there is a Game 5, we will fire it up with Roy Oswalt, our third Astros Hall of Famer, Terry Poole, Phil Garner, Roy Oswalt. No other podcast in Astros land has that kind of lineup.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's still pretty cool. I remember growing up watching him pitch, and it was just awesome seeing him, how he pitched in the playoffs and everything he did. So Roy Oswalt, I think this could be an interesting matchup. I do want to ask him about the how he thinks about the opener and how he thinks about the trend of starting pitchers. I do want to talk to him about what he thinks about Rob Manfred's rule that he wants to implement about pitchers have to go so many innings in the future. So we got a lot of questions. So like he said, if you have any questions, go ahead and send it to us. We got a lot to talk about. So we do have all offseason to talk about roster crunch and everything, but there is something that's impending. So we're probably going to get to this after the break, but I do want to kind of highlight what's coming up. So the day after the World Series ends, that's when all the players become free agents, including, I'll list the names: Verlander, Kikuchi, Graveman, Neris, Hayward, Gamble, Ferguson, Bregman. All these guys will become free agents. So that would take 8 players off the 40-man roster. But the 40-man roster is currently full with 40 players. All the people that are on the 60-day IL will have to be added 5 days after the World Series ends. So we'll go ahead and talk about that list in a second. Guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go ahead and check out the Locked On Astros podcast.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sports book. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with America's sports book. That is #1 in all the land. New customers right now can get $5 can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. So the FanDuel Sportsbook app, go get it because it gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. You don't have to go to like 50 different websites to figure out what you want to do. It's right there in the palm of your hand. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, go live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. So visit FanDuel.com. Join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go ahead and make us your first listen. We do appreciate it. We want to try to get to 15,000 subscribers before the end of 2025. Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever the phrase is. But Brett, I know that the Astros have a numbers game coming on. So you have 8 impending free agents. We don't know if any of them are coming back. I would guess that most of them are probably going to go by the wayside. I would love to have Gamble back as just a fallback option. Hayward was pretty good in his role. Ferguson, bye-bye. Bregman, I would like to have back. Verlander, I think that he's been wanting too much money. Kikuchi, I think you and I would be both in agreement. We're not really talking about this, but we would like for him to come back, but we know that it is a likelihood that he might not come back. That's for another podcast.
Hold up. You think he's not going to come back. I think he's going to come back. I think he's absolutely.
You can't afford to keep him and Bregman. Not Bregman. Yeah, Bregman and Tucker. I thought I said
you don't have to pay Tucker till 26. Tucker's not an issue right now. Tucker will
you still
agree
have to pay for Kikuchi in 26. I mean, if you give him a 2-year deal.
But coming off the books, Abreu, Montero, and Presley in 26. There's room. There's a way to do it. Kikuchi is not going to. I don't think gets more than 16.5. But we can discuss that on another show. I think there is an absolute path for Kikuchi. I think there's a path for Kikuchi, Bregman, and Kyle Tucker. And I'm not just saying that. I really, really do. But I digress.
All right, so let's talk about how many players are currently on the 60-day IL. So keep in mind, when a player is on the 60-day IL, they are removed from the 40-man roster. So 5 days after the World Series ends, these players have to be added back to the roster. Doesn't matter if they're going to get back on the IL when the season starts. Like Christian Javier, he's not gonna be on the opening day roster. Who else? Who else just had surgery this year?
JP France.
JP France. Yeah, JP France is probably not going to be. Yeah. So, but these guys are not. But you still have to add them to the active roster for the offseason. So here are the 10 players. That's right. 10 players that are coming off the IL, and you have to add all 10 of these players, or you can DFA them or something, but you have to add all 10 of these players back. It's going to be JP France, Luis Garcia, Kendall Graveman, Christian Javier, Lance McCullers Jr., Penn Murphy, Ortega. What's his first name again? I didn't write it. Bennett Souza, Jose Urquidy, and Ben Gamble. I think it's what was his name?
I'll find it. Go ahead.
But these guys are currently on the 40-man roster, so they're going to have to. I mean, they're not on the 40-man roster, so they're going to have to be added. It's Oliver Ortega.
There you go.
So he is a free agent. So some of these guys are free agents. You have people like who was it? It was Gamble and one more person, Graveman. They're free agents. So that's 2 of the players gone. So you have 8 impending free agents and 10 players that need to come on. That means you have 2 more roster spots you need to find. So that means 2 more people you need to get off the roster. I know you said, well, what about Ortega? Can you just go and DFA him? Sure, you can. But are there any other options? Let's go and scour the 40-man roster and kind of look at this real quick. So any thoughts off the top of your head?
Can we DFA Lance McCullers Jr.?
No. You're still going to have to pay him. So see what he can do.
I know. I said that because the Astros have a lot of guys they're paying on the payroll that aren't doing anything or aren't here anymore. I'm sorry. That was my attempt at baseball humor.
I know.
Bennett Souza. Come on, man. Like some of these guys that are just like, you mentioned what Ferguson. Adios, dude. Like you're out. Like
he's already free agent, so he's gone.
Okay. Well, it comes down to Ort. Whitley is on the roster, but if he goes into camp and something doesn't go well, I hate to say this because I'm a big Whitley fan. He could be someone that they could take off, right? I mean, because he's on the 40.
No, it has to be now. I mean, we're not talking about.
I thought you were talking about.
No, I mean like 5 days from now, sir. 5 days from now, sir.
5 days from now. Okay, that changes everything. Lance McCullers Jr.
Stop.
Bennett Souza. Let's see. I don't know, dude. There's really no one else that I want to. Trey Cabbage.
Yeah, I was going to say Trey Cabbage. Cooper Hummel is another guy that probably is not going to get a lot of playing time.
Is Cooper even listed on here? I don't even see Cooper's name.
Yeah, he's number 13. He's listed as an outfielder, even though he plays first base.
What?
So he is currently he's 29. He didn't really play much for Houston Astros last year, so he is definitely option to be DFA'd. You've got Trey Cabbage. Trey Cabbage played good defense, but at times I just don't know what his value is. But I think they're probably going to look at some of their younger pitching this year. But we're not just talking about, like you said, there's other options at camp. I think that Forrest Whitley has shown too much promise. I think they're going to see.
I think he'll be there. I think he makes it out. I was just saying, if that happens in spring training, it would be he would have to just completely fall on his face, which I don't think he'll do. I was really kind of gunning for him to make the playoff roster, and I know he was. I had a discussion with him before the playoffs started, and he said, stuff's in the, like, all that stuff is in the club's hands, and whatever they decide. And I know he's chomping at the bit. I think he finally makes it, Eric. I would really like to see Whitley contribute next year. And I know there's a lot of people that don't believe in him, but then that means there's no pressure. The only pressure that exists in sports is the pressure you put on yourself. I don't care about existential pressure. I don't care about what media says. I don't care about, people pulling up stats like I do with Judge and Maldonado. Like, the only pressure that like someone like Aaron Judge has is what he puts on himself. And Forrest Whitley, he's his biggest ally. He can be his biggest enemy. And so obviously, because we're not in the head of Forrest Whitley, we don't know where he is. And we've seen that with Framber Valdez. When Framber Valdez is in tune mentally, he's one of the best in the game.
Yes. So the Astros need to drop 2 roster spots before, let's say the series ends tomorrow, so to speak, or maybe Wednesday. The Astros would have 5 days to basically get the roster down to 2 players so they can add the extra player. Now, what it complicates things if they go ahead and sign Bregman before that point, or go and sign one of their returning free agents. I don't know why I thought Hector Neris did better when he came back, but apparently I looked at the numbers and he didn't actually do that good this year.
No, he didn't.
Definitely not with the Astros. So, but he did have a team option with the Cubs. But when he was traded, when he was DFA, that was actually that went away. So that's why he is a free agent. So don't forget about the Rule 5 players. There are some Astros players that are Rule 5 eligible, and you might need to protect them. There's somebody that you've talked about several times this year. So we're going to have to continue having this conversation. Guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to Prize Picks today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Look, with as few as 4 picks, you can win a lot of money. You can win 100 times your money. Prize Picks has millions of players playing, over 10 million, myself and Eric included, in over 30 states, California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. That's right. They also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out. If your lineup isn't perfect, you can double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, I can get my money as quick as 15 minutes. That's right. So go to Prize Picks today, download the app, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $50 when you play $5 instantly. It's highly encouraged that you go right now to Prize Picks and listen to me and get Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game.
Hey guys, why don't you make the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day? Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us, make it first listen. Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, go ahead and check us out. Go ahead and hit that little red button down there that says subscribe. You'll make Brett and I very happy. So,
so exuberant. That was the most. Hey guys.
Hey you guys.
Hey kids. Dinner's ready. That's what it reminded me of. That was like parental Eric right there. So if you want to know what Eric's kids hear when he's home, that's what they hear. Parental Eric right there.
Okay. So there are some, when the winter meetings come around, the players that are Rule 5 eligible. There's also free agents that Astros will likely want to re-sign or sign or whatever. So there are some players that, some moves that are going to be happening throughout. So just because a player survives the first round doesn't mean that they're going to survive the whole offseason. The offseason is a roller coaster ride for some of these fringe players. And so that's how you get prizes sometimes. You're just waiting for the right player to drop in your I think Taylor Scott was one of those guys last year.
Yeah.
The Astros just kind of end up with him. But there's 3 players that could be Rule 5 candidates. So you have Quincy Hamilton, you have Colton Gordon, and also Jesus Bastidas, who played AAA last year. They're all Rule 5 eligible, so that's 3 players you might have to add to the roster. But the Astros don't have a lot of room right now. So for every player they add, they're going to have to DFA somebody else. So I think Colton Gordon is definitely somebody that they have to look at. Quincy Hamilton is somebody who's playing the Arizona Fall League. They obviously have a lot of respect for him. They won't lose him.
Good.
So this is these are 2 guys that you definitely want to add. So you can't be safe in the Astros minor league system.
No, you can't. And at the end of the day, you just want to know that you make when it comes to this stuff that you make the right decision, right? Whoever they decide to hold on to or let go, that's fine. Now I'm seeing I cannot get a current Houston Astros roster because you are showing the Rule 5. Isn't Luke Berryhill gone?
Yeah.
Okay, well, the fan graphs I'm looking at is showing Luke Berryhill as a Rule 5, and I don't know why my fan graphs is not updated.
Well, I don't think they probably updated it this year. So,
okay.
Somebody like Luke Berryhill, I think he was DFA'd or released.
That's what I thought. Okay. I thought I was seeing things. I thought I was going crazy. But there are some other guys. Pascal Ferreira, he was in AA last year. Eric talking about. I think he's also a Rule 5. Pascal Ferreira may be a guy that they hold on to. Kenny Van Dorn, we had him on the show. He's shown a lot of promise, and there are guys moving through the system that we have to be on the lookout for. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Cesar Salazar, how much he comes up and goes down. He only he has one option left, I think. So this next year is the only option he has left, and then after that, he's gonna have to be protected, if I'm not mistaken, or remain on the
From
roster.
Rule 5 or just from?
Well, no, he has one option. He has one minor league option left. So he's got one more year left where he can go up and come down and all that stuff. After 2025, he will have to be protected or have to be on the roster because he only has
He
one.
doesn't have to be protected. He just has to be on the roster. So there's two different terms.
That's what
So,
I'm saying.
I
They
know
have to protect him if he's not on the roster is what I'm saying.
yeah. So it just kind of the same thing with Forrest Whitley. He has to be on the roster. So
Right.
I don't know if that means the protecting, but they have to be rostered. So, or else they become a minor league free agent. So I guess in a way it's protecting, but we typically use protecting in terms of the draft. But I guess that in a way you are correct. So free agents, no matter who the Astros bring, if they bring in-house free agents, out-of-house free agents, whoever it is, you're going to have to make room. So it's going to be a long offseason for Dana Brown and everything. So I don't know what's going to happen. Kikuchi, I would love to have him back. That's the main one. Out in the pitching wise, Graveman, I mean, we never really got a chance to see him the second time around. I would love to see Bregman back. I know a lot of people are saying stop giving us false hope. We have hope. So why?
So if we don't give false hope, then what's the opposite of that? Like, look, I think that there is a clear path to have Bregman here. Mm-hmm. Now, whether Bregman and the Astros fall into that line where I think it's a doable deal, I don't know. But hey, something funny I wanted to mention, and I don't know if you followed it, Eric, and this is kind of off topic a little bit, but how we got all kinds of crap in Astros world about the quote unquote buzzer theory about Altuve. Well, Freddie Freeman hit the home run, the grand slam, and this guy Bonda, I'm sure you've seen him. He makes videos and stuff. He circled. Did you see that? He circled Freddie Freeman's jersey.
It's a crease.
Huh?
It's probably just a
Eric, I know it, Eric. I know it's not a buzzer. He's completely joking and trolling the entire baseball world. That tweet literally has 4 million interactions, and he just tweeted another picture saying, "Here's a clear image." And sports websites are going with it. They're like conspiracy theorists on social media. People are questioning the legitimacy of Freddie Freeman's home run. I'm like, I cannot believe how deeply people in it. And it's not even the facts. Like everybody knows. Well, everybody who has a brain knows that MLB on Facts. And I met the Fact Sports creator. That dude's great. We need to have him on this offseason. He's hilarious. And he said he created it because he got tired of all the New York and LA media, like just love fest. So that's why he started it. And he started, ragging on the big teams. He's like, now everybody is fair game. But I just think it's funny, dude. I mean, the dude is being retweeted by actual like journalists in papers across America. It's one of the funniest things. And I'll tell you something about the rankings. The rankings, I think, are bullcrap. You ask anybody in a minor league system, they'll tell you they don't go by them because they rank according to signing bonus and projectability out of the draft. I mean, how many guys? I mean, look, Dylan Cruz, this big hot prospect. I mean, the guys in the Rangers organization, Leiter, was it Al Leiter Jr.? And I mean, I'm sorry, Jack Leiter. And he hasn't done anything. So you can project all you want. What do the guys do? What do the teams do with the players that come into the system? That's how I think if you see the Astros homegrown talent, shouldn't that put their system ranked in the last 5 to 10 years, one of the best? And I understand they don't have the quote unquote talent pool, but watch how a team develops them, not how they're ranked, because high ranking minor leaguers never did anything. They've got to become pros first.
Right. And somebody asked about Forrest Whitley. So this was his last minor league option year. So he's still under contract with Houston Astros. So he hasn't even started the pre-arbitration process. This is so he's still technically a rookie. So the Astros still have up to 6 years of control with Forrest Whitley. So his minor league career is quote unquote over. If he doesn't make the team with the Astros last year, he would be next year. It would be he would be a minor league free agent. So that's how that works. So the Astros definitely have invested a lot with him. They've gone above and beyond to try to keep him on the roster. So that's why I think that they'll be here. So that's funny about the Freddie Freeman thing. I didn't know all that. So, but it's just so easy to fool people nowadays, and so that's why social media is a joke.
Man. It is next level trolling. But hey, social media is fun. It's not a real place. It's just someone said Bondo with the facts. I had to give him props because I was legitimately just in awe of how many people literally took it and ran with it. Now, I understand on the thread, but like literally being quoted in multiple articles across the country. Just, can you imagine if they had Twitter back when they had the gold rush or westward expansion? You know, can you imagine? There's gold in Seattle. What? You know, I'm just like, you know, anyway.
Well, guys, that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. Don't forget, Wednesday at 6:15, we're going to have Roy Oswalt on the show. So go and tune in for that. Go and make us your everyday listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check us out. And Brett, what do we always say?
Go Stros.
We'll see you tomorrow.